NBC Sports presents The Spirit of Competition, a celebration of sports. Brought to you by Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Brewers of Michelob. Put a little weekend in your week. By Minty Fresh Scope. Fights bad breath without giving you medicine breath. And by Mazda Cars and Trucks. The more you look, the more you like their outstanding value. Hello everyone, I'm Bob Costas, and in the next hour we're going to meet some old friends and relive their past triumphs and in some cases disappointments. Now, we make no pretense that this is a comprehensive list of all the great American sports heroes, but we do think we've captured some vivid moments, moments that'll rekindle memories for you, moments that capture that spirit of competition which makes for a celebration of American sports.
Back and throws. There's a left side. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the past.
It might have been baseball's single most memorable moment that day in 1951 when Bobby Thompson, shot heard round the world, capped a miracle for the Giants and broke hearts in Flatbush. 21 years later in Pittsburgh, this Terry Bradshaw prayer was somehow answered. Franco Harris's catch would come to be known as the Immaculate Reception. While Franco's catch saved the Steelers that day, Mike Adamle has the story of a man who might very well have saved an entire league.
The knees were bad, and frequently on the sidelines he looked like a study in defeat. But he had a gambler's heart and the ability to make victory possible.
They say that I won't last too long on Broadway. I'll catch a Greyhound bus for home, they all say. But they're dead wrong, I know they are, 'cause I can play this here guitar, and I won't quit till I'm a star on Broadway.
In sports circles, there's always that great debate. Who is the greatest quarterback of all time? How would you rate yourself?
Well, I hate to put myself ahead of anybody, but I wouldn't take a back seat to anybody. Wins and losses are another thing. There's a lot of ways of measuring performances. I think I could have played as well as anybody that ever played the game.
In talking to some of the former defensive backs in the league, one thing that you had that was very special was you could first strike fear in their hearts, but also elicit their respect and their sense of challenge. They would think of nothing better than to intercept a Joe Namath pass so they could tell something to their grandchildren. What do you suppose that is?
Well, I don't know why that is, but it's funny to me because I used to really get upset about interceptions, and then I talked to myself. I said, Joseph, look at all the people you're making happy. You know, a defensive back intercepts the ball. His family's happy, his team's happy, but I still felt ugly about the interceptions. And I threw a lot of them. I don't think more than most quarterbacks have thrown, but I used to throw the ball away a lot. I was an excellent passer. That's one of the reasons. We had a hot team. We had fine receivers when we were in our heyday, so to speak, and Don Mader and George Sire, Pete Lamons. We had people that could get open, and so the receivers or the defenders should have been afraid. We had some weapons to come at them.
And come at them they did. When Joe brought his Jets to Memorial Stadium to take on that other great quarterback, the shootout that resulted bridged the generation gap and rewrote the record books.
That was a great game, and I think it still is a record as far as two teams' combined yardage. Johnny Unitas that day was so hot. I mean, he was cooking. He threw over 40 passes, and our defense never even touched one of them.
What do you miss the most, though, about football in your career as a Jet?
The people. I guess the elation also of having succeeded, having won a game, having that group feeling of just so much energy, so much upness after having succeeded from a week's preparation or months of work and preparation. Finally getting over the hump. You did it. Your team did it. Everybody, there's so much up energy around. It's a wonderful feeling. Those are the things that I guess I miss most.
And the game misses him. Namath made the game exciting, and he made the game news. From his signing as a $400,000 quarterback to his off-the-field image as a swinger, Namath was a star. NBC found out when the network cut from a critical Jets game against Oakland to a little girl named Heidi. The switchboard went crazy, and Heidi and Broadway Joe went into history on a fumble and a Jet loss to Oakland. Then there was Bachelors 3 in a tearful news conference where Broadway Joe gave up the game he loved. But the crisis passed, and Joe came back to make his biggest headline ever.
There was a heated rivalry. I don't know if it exists today. I don't think it does, but the AFL certainly didn't like the NFL, and the NFL didn't think much of the AFL, and so it did add a little juice to the game.
We need another score, though. We need another score. Can't let him get the big return. All right, Frank, ready to get us through this.
Despite the heroics of Johnny Unitas, the Colts and Don Shula didn't return. Namath called a superb game, and the AFL finally gained respect and credibility.
Well, I know it was important. It was important not only for the players, but for the fans of America, people that like football. It had to be shown. It had to be done.
Namath and his Jets had done it, but it would be his last visit to the Super Bowl. The Jets would decline as a team, and Namath would finish out his career with the Los Angeles Rams. But the fans will always remember Namath as the cocky Joe Willie on Broadway.
Figures are those who disdain caution, who, like Arnold Palmer in golf, are always ready to take that all-or-nothing chance. For auto racing fans, the man who best embodies that go-for-it attitude might very well be A.J. Foyt. His fans call him Super Tex, and he's won 4 Indy 500 races, and yet he still keeps searching for that 5th victory. Baseball has its own example of a competitor who never stops driving.
As long as I can continue to play baseball with the enthusiasm of a kid, I'm not worried about getting old.
But no kid ever played the game the way this 41-year-old does. In fact, the only man ever to play with the intensity of Pete Rose might have been the man he is chasing in the record book, Ty Cobb.
How you doing?
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you. I've had as much trouble getting this line, or a lot. I think I had to wait longer than you did to break the record.
Well, we were going to give you 5 more minutes, and that was it.
I just wanted. We've been having some trouble here getting through, and I just wanted to call and congratulate you. I know how you must feel, and I think it's great.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate it, and I know that you're a baseball fan, and we appreciate you taking time out to call us here in Philadelphia.
While it is Pete's pursuit of Cobb's batting record that has garnered the most publicity, fans, first of the Reds and now the Phillies, know Pete Rose to be a complete baseball player who thrives on the competition of the game.
But my father always taught me that you got to give 110% because the people you're playing against might be giving 100. And if that's the case, no one's going to win. And you really learn the difference of winning and losing when you play professional sports. And if you're going to come out here for 2.5 hours, you might as well win. It's as simple as that. Winning's everything. It's not important. It's everything.
Winning at baseball means getting around the bases, and Rose has never depended just on his bat to collect them. Rose, the competitor, has never failed to be a factor in any game he plays.
It's all out. I mean, I try to play all out every day, and there's days when I don't feel well. But I play injured. I've never missed a game in a Philly uniform, and I had a broken toe a couple years ago. I have a hyperextended in my elbow. My philosophy is I come to the ballpark, I'm paid to play, so why shouldn't I play?
It's a June afternoon in Veterans Stadium. A tired Pete Rose is back in Philadelphia for a game against the Chicago Cubs. The team didn't return from a night game in Houston until nearly 5 a.m. But even in batting practice, Pete Rose is still Pete Rose.
One hard ball. But you can't catch 10 in a row. That's 2, without me dropping. How about what Larry Bittner called it? Raisin face. With all his wrinkles. Called him raisin face. Hey, raisin face. Raisin face. Look at you. Get into it, Sid. Good thing you're a pitcher, Sid. Hey. Look out, Larry. You going deep? Going deep on him?
People knew I wasn't a phony because I played the same way in game 150 as I did in game 5 or game 1. And I think there's only one way to play, and I play every game like it might be my last because it might be. And people always remember what you do the last time you do something.
Fortunately for baseball fans, it's not yet time for Pete's last game. And for those of us who have only heard stories about the Gas House Gang, Wee Willie Keeler, John McGraw, or the great Ty Cobb, there's still time to collect a few stories of how great Charlie Hustle played the game.
I think all I am is a grown-up playing a kid's game, and there's a lot of people who disagree with the fact that I'm a grown-up, but I think as long as I can continue to play baseball with the enthusiasm of a kid, I'm not worried about getting old.
You think Rose is a competitor? Take a look at this guy on the mound. Even Charlie Hustle dreaded facing Bob Gibson.
Competitor? Boy, I tell you, when they named the word competitor, they must have had a Bob Gibson in mind.
He was the most tenacious competitor that I've ever seen in any sport.
When you're in this game long enough, when you say someone's a great competitor, it almost explains itself. To get to the little reasons why would take hours.
You certainly can't beat him mentally or emotionally because he's geared at one speed, full speed ahead at all times.
He will definitely make sure that the hitter is kept loose at the plate. He went about his trade very, very businesslike, and that's why he's in the Hall of Fame, and that's why he's the greatest competitor I've ever seen.
Bob Gibson is now the Atlanta pitching coach, working with his friend, Braves manager Joe Torre. And while it's been 7 years since Gibson notched the last of his 251 career victories, National League stadiums still echo with the memory of his formidable presence on the mound.
There were a lot of people in the league that got strange things happened to them when Bob Gibson was pitching against them. Migraine headaches. Pitchers wouldn't pitch against them in the normal rotation. There were a lot of things that happened to the opposition when Bob Gibson was up against them.
Did it bother you that people might have thought you actually were a mean person as opposed to a mean competitor?
No, it doesn't bother me, or it didn't bother me, and it doesn't now. People don't know anything about most people that they have opinions of.
While known as a warm and helpful teammate, Gibson remained distant from all opposing players. And as Joe Torre learned, that rule applied even in all-star games.
I went out to the mound. I said, Gibby, get the ball up and in on Oliva, not down and in. Now to get 2 strikes on him. He didn't say a word to me. It felt like I was nude out there. And I just turned around and walked back behind the plate and called for the fastball. Threw the ball down and in, and Oliva hit a double left center field, and Gibby just glared at me and proceeded to strike out the next 3 hitters, last of which was Pepitone. In the shower after the game, it turned out it was just him and I in the shower, and I said, nice pitching, Bob, and he was just soaping himself down, never said a word to me.
A hitter was almost like an enemy standing up there, and what makes an enemy so awesome is not knowing anything about him.
And those elements of mystery and intimidation were most evident in World Series play. Gibby is arguably the greatest Fall Classic pitcher ever. In one stretch, he won 7 series games in a row, including the 7th and deciding contests in the Cardinals' championship seasons of '64 and '67. Perhaps his most brilliant effort was Game 1 of the '68 series against the Tigers. Detroit featured sluggers like Norm Cash, Al Kaline, and Willie Horton, but Gibby mowed them down one by one. 17 strikeouts in all, a World Series record. A 4-0 4-hit victory that put the capper on his almost unbelievable 1968 campaign.
And looking back, that year it didn't seem like I did anything wrong. Every pitch that I threw, or mostly every pitch, was right on the knee, and I had the ability that particular year to hit whatever corner I wanted to, and it was just, that wasn't my norm.
Gibson might not have been impressed, but the baseball world was. He took the Cy Young and MVP awards on the strength of his 22 victories and astonishing 1.12 ERA.
I guess I can't really say that I wound down, because I can feel myself at times wanting to be out there right now, and I know I can't.
But in our memories, Bob Gibson, the stylish intimidator, will always be there. A dream for fans, a nightmare for opposing hitters.
I'm Pete Rose.
Sports fans, myself included, love statistics. But for some athletes, mere numbers, no matter how impressive, can't begin to tell the story. These are the performers of such unique style and grace that to be truly appreciated, they must be seen. Was there ever a more stylish third baseman than Brooks Robinson? His 1970 World Series performance is still state-of-the-art. It was once said that of all the promises that the rich have ever made to the poor, the only one that was ever kept was Willie Mays. Say hey, Willie. The Steelers' Lynn Swann has shared a stage with Gene Kelly, is a trustee of the Pittsburgh Ballet, and on Sundays performs a gridiron dance all his own. Number 88 is perhaps football's ultimate stylist. But who does Lynn Swann look to when it comes to artistry in sport?
When I see Julius on the basketball court, I don't see just perfection, but I see a person who took the game he plays and took it to a new level.
While Dr. J performs his artistry in midair, Sandy Koufax was perfection on the mound. There's just one regret. He was forced by arm miseries to retire while still at the peak of his career. And then there's another star-crossed baseball legend.
I didn't really work at it because when it was going on, I didn't think it was going to ever end. I thought I was going to be 30 years old for the rest of my life, you know.
He was the third generation of what sports writers like to call the ultimate Yankee. Joe DiMaggio had replaced Babe Ruth in 1936. And then with DiMaggio about to retire in 1951, Mickey Charles Mantle, a blonde, strong 19-year-old kid from Commerce, Oklahoma, burst into baseball.